We had a series of lectures about sea worms, polychaetes, and the fact that these worms can breed on one night of the year. And yet these worms have got a brain the size of a pinhead. How do they do it? Anyhow, I thought this, and so they're the lowest group of animals that have a hormone system. Anyhow, I was really riveted with these lectures. Anyhow, the word got round to the then prof, and so a week or so later, I got a message, go and see Prof. I thought, what have I done? So I went to see Prof, and he said, I've been talking to the guy at Newcastle at the Royal Society meeting yesterday who did all that work on the endocrine system, the hormone system of worms. He's got a PhD scholarship. He'd like to meet you. And so I duly caught the train up to Newcastle, was interviewed by him, and he said, okay, you've got the job, you've got the fellowship, providing you get a good degree. So that was an incentive. But then when I did my PhD, I think there were 3 women in the department in the Marine Station. At that stage, Newcastle Uni had something like 80 postgraduates. It was a very large department. But I certainly do remember going out on the Meek, the boat, the converted fishing boat that we used to go out to sea to collect, and we had this Norwegian guy who used to be as sick as anything, so I just used to do his sorting. I mean, sorting samples on a rocking boat can be a little challenging. But I also, very early on, worked out I'd done competitive swimming. Going scuba diving was just some natural. In those days, I mean, we're talking about the late 60s. You couldn't go to a shop and buy a wetsuit, so we had to make our own wetsuits, I learnt to dive. So one of the first things when I got to the Australian Museum, a few weeks after I arrived, Frank Talbot came back, who'd been on an underwater habitat expedition in the Virgin Islands in the States, came in and introduced himself, and we started talking. He said, "Can you dive?" I said, "Of course I can." And that was quite unusual for somebody coming from England in the 1970s. I mean, scuba diving had really only just started coming in around the world in about 1967, 1968. It was a very new talent. And whereas today, if you interview a student, they've all learnt to dive. So he said, right, come to One Tree. And so we trotted off to One Tree, and I had to do some work for Frank. But that's when really drove my passion to work on coral reefs. I'd just like to give some examples as to the importance that polychaetes, sea worms, play in the marine environment. They're found from the intertidal to the deep sea. We're currently working on some stuff from the abyss. And they're in soft sediments. I mean, they occur predominantly in soft sediments, not all. But if you dig up a mudflat or subtidal sediments, the dominant organisms are sea worms. Polychaetes, either both in terms of diversity, the number of species, and in the number of individuals. They're the bottom of the food chain. They break down organic matter. They're fed on by lots of animals above them, the fish, the prawns. Without worms, you would have a rather smelly environment. It's like if you have a compost bin in your back garden without worms, it's not a healthy compost bin. Worms really play a critical role. And their importance today with climate change and our impact on the environment is because polychaetes, most of them have a relatively short lifespan, ranging from a few months to a few years. They're going to be the ones that really are going to exhibit changes much quicker than some of the large megacharismatic animals that people are concerned about. It's going to, you're going to see those changes in a few generations.